Jonathan Reed. In 1996, a psychologist named Jonathan Reed embarked on a seemingly ordinary hike with his dog Suzy in the Pacific Northwest. Entering a clearing on the trail, Reed stumbled upon a heart-stopping sight, a black obelisk hovering silently just above the ground. Next to this mysterious and seemingly gravity-defying object stood what appeared to be an alien creature. The extraterrestrial resembled the classic depiction of a gray alien with a large elongated head, slender limbs, and an approximately humanoid bipedal form. It wore a skin-tight black suit that covered most of its body. The creature was startled, and Dr. Reed claims it fired an energy weapon, vaporizing his dog. Blinded with rage, Reed grabbed a large tree branch and struck the alien, knocking it to the ground. Convinced he had killed the creature, Reed wrapped it in a thermal blanket and carried it home, later capturing a now viral video of his examination of the body. The footage, hauntingly punctuated by Reed's frantic breaths, shows him first unwrapping, then carefully manipulating the entity's limbs and rotating its head. After storing it in his freezer that night for later examination, Reed awoke to discover it gone, seemingly revived and escaped. This terror, however, was only the beginning of Dr. Reed's troubles. He soon became a victim of harassment by government agents and the infamous Men in Black. According to Reed, these operatives confiscated his high-resolution footage of the being, leaving behind only a grainy, low-quality backup copy, which now circulates on YouTube. Dr. Jonathan Reed published a book about his encounter, which has drawn the attention of both skeptics and ufologists, and remains a hotly debated topic to this day. While numerous individuals stand by the legitimacy of Reed's accounts, an investigation believes that he might have used an alias, potentially being a Seattle local known as Mr. Rudder. However, concrete evidence remains elusive, leaving us only with a deeply unsettling narrative and an equally chilling video. The Mirage Men and Paul Bennewitz. Ufologists have long suspected, and some government insiders have confirmed, that secretive government agencies have pursued a sustained disinformation campaign related to UFOs for decades. Insider accounts, bolstered by leaks from Edward Snowden, suggest that the US government and GCHQ trained agents to disseminate fabricated evidence of UFOs and extraterrestrial intelligence to paranormal researchers. One of the most notable alleged targets of this covert operation was Paul Bennewitz, a prominent UFO investigator whose experience with this campaign would have dire consequences and brutal implications for his mental health. Starting his UFO research in the 1970s, Bennewitz rapidly ascended as a credible figure in the field, partly owing to his formidable background in engineering. It's believed that Bennewitz first appeared on the radar of individuals, later dubbed the Mirage Men, at a 1979 meeting concerning cattle mutilations. These Mirage Men, likely government operatives, would fabricate UFO-related evidence, feeding it to researchers. Their aim was twofold: to establish rapport with the ufology community as trusted sources, and to be forewarned if investigators were on the brink of genuine discoveries. While Bennewitz was just one victim of the Mirage Men's manipulative tactics, he is a prime example of how the Mirage Men worked. Bennewitz had been told that the government was interested in his findings, encouraging him to continue his self-funded investigations. All the while, as Bennewitz probed further, the Mirage Men kept close tabs on him, exploiting his research to uncover vulnerabilities in their own defenses. Their goal was clear: ensure investigators never ventured too close to the truth. The Mirage Men gradually built their influence over Bennewitz and began to feed him increasingly bizarre and paranoid information. Their deceit took its toll. By 1988, Bennewitz was so consumed by paranoia that he fortified his home with sandbags and even accused his wife of leading the very aliens he was tracking. Eventually, he was admitted to a psychiatric facility. Subsequent revelations indicated that the Mirage Men, in conjunction with complicit members of the ufology community, had deliberately driven Bennewitz to a psychological breaking point by inundating him with false information about UFOs and aliens. Albert K. Bender. The International Flying Saucer Bureau, founded in Connecticut by Albert K. Bender in 1952, was quick to grow into a thriving collective of ufologists, with members and branches spreading throughout America and around the world. Though Bender was a respected World War II veteran, dental physician, and newspaper editor, he was also known for his extraordinary claim of having encountered supernatural entities. One day, Bender suddenly and mysteriously announced that he would be shutting down the successful International Flying Saucer Bureau after having been contacted and ordered to do so by a higher authority. Bender described the visitors as wearing black suits and black hats. He alleged that they provided sensitive information to him, warning him that the knowledge was not to be shared and insisting that he cease his investigations. Bender claimed that some of these communications took place telepathically over the course of several hours, with 2 men interrogating him and a third silently watching. Troubled by the encounter, Albert Bender stopped eating and became seriously ill. Persistent headaches plagued him after that, and those around him noted his altered demeanor. Bender seemed perpetually on edge, almost unhinged. Bender was terrified of the return of the men in black, but one day he found himself discussing his UFO theories with a friend over the phone. The moment the call ended, his phone rang, and an anonymous voice warned Bender that he had made a bad slip. Subsequently, these silencers, as Bender called them, discouraged him from unveiling a UFO cover-up in Space Review, a renowned ufology magazine. This time they visited and left Bender a clear warning that advised, quote, those engaged in saucer work to please be very cautious. Although he refused to speak about his experience for 9 years, Bender eventually wrote a book in which he claimed the men in black to have been from another planet. Lending credence to Bender's narrative, several ufologists in his circle recounted parallel experiences, from unsettling phone calls to being tailed by unidentifiable vehicles. Although many are skeptical of Bender's tales, he anticipated this. He noted that the entities had forewarned him that any revelations about their visits would be met with disbelief. Pat Hyde. Before 1972, Patricia Hyde had given little consideration to the possibility of UFOs. Yet one evening around 9 p.m., as she was engrossed in a film at a drive-in, a peculiar light in the sky caught her eye. Its motion, reminiscent of a drifting leaf, was unlike anything she'd ever witnessed. Following her curiosities, Pat began to engage with others who claimed to have seen UFOs, searching for individuals who would take her claims seriously. As she endeavored to collect what she described as interesting data, Pat was approached one day by a mysterious man who claimed to be a reporter. Distressingly, the undertones of their conversation hinted at threats from a higher power, intent on suppressing her story. Several days later, Pat picked up the phone to hear the unsettling voice of the reporter. He was screaming, quote, "What are you trying to do to me? Why did you send those men out to run me off the road?" Once she had calmed him down, he explained that a black car driving at more than 70 miles per hour had attempted to run him down while crossing the street, forcing him to dive for the curb. Concerned, Patricia rushed to the man's residence, using a contact card he'd provided when they first met. Bizarrely, it was sealed shut, with neighbors asserting it had been uninhabited for some time, even though she had spoken to the man mere moments before. Years later, despite not often sharing her story, Pat was working for the FBI as a typist when she received a visit from a suited man who aggressively insisted that she cease her investigations. She was so shaken by this experience that she quit her job. Sometime later, while walking home at night, a stranger ambushed Patricia, snatching her bag. Without uttering a word, he scattered its contents. Locating her notebook on UFOs, he began to shred the pages. Suddenly, another pair of hands seized her from behind, handcuffing her and throwing her into a van. Hours passed as they drove to an undisclosed site. There, unknown men told her she was now in a hospital after trying to leap from the FBI building where she'd previously worked, a claim Patricia refuted, pointing out the building's barred windows. Yet a man posing as a doctor chillingly remarked, quote, "You will admit this, or you'll never leave here." Patricia was kept in a room for days and quizzed on a range of supernatural topics. She was eventually allowed to call her mother to collect her from the seemingly vacant building, but not before the alleged doctor made her, quote, "promise not to do any more UFO research." With only anecdotal evidence and nobody to take her claims seriously, the details of Pat's strange story, like those of so many other visitations, have faded into history. It's only retrospectively that terrifying similarities between Pat's story and the stories of others can be seen. Afosi, the real Men in Black. In 2017, reports surfaced that the Department of the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, or AFOSI, had initiated an inquiry into the unauthorized release of classified UFO footage. The footage had been obtained and released by the To the Stars Academy, an aerospace and entertainment company founded by the guitarist of the rock band Blink-182, Tom DeLonge. The released material comprised 3 classified videos recorded by the Navy between 2004 and 2015, showcasing what the Pentagon labeled as, quote, unidentified aerial phenomena. Since the video's public debut, the Air Force has remained tight-lipped on all UFO-associated matters. In the grainy black and white footage, unidentified objects can clearly be seen. Attempts to explain the phenomena have cited drones and anomalous instrument readings as being to blame, but many maintain that the craft are distinctly alien. The FOC investigated the release of these videos as part of a broader inquiry into the unauthorized dissemination of sensitive materials. These efforts cemented their reputation as the real Men in Black. The 3 videos, named Go Fast, Gimbal, and Fleur, are now publicly available, despite attempts made by the FOC to control their distribution. One skeptical writer stated that the ufology-related explanations, quote, reflect the same pattern that's played out dozens of times before. Someone sees something strange in the sky, and the public jumps to an illogical conclusion. Nevertheless, to this day, the events captured in these controversial videos are officially deemed unidentified on government records.